Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Ich warte seit Wochen auf diesen Tag und tanz vor Freude über den Asphalt. Als wär's ein Rhythmus, als gäb's ein Lied, das mich immer weiter durch die Straßen zieht. Komm dir entgegen.
Hello and welcome to the Gegenpressing podcast. This is the bonus show and this is day 2 of No Manu on the podcast. But just like yesterday, I'm delighted to have a guest equal in stature and knowledge. I'm sure we'll all agree. Matt Ford, welcome back to the show. And how are you doing?
Yeah, hello mate. Thanks for having me. Sorry. We're having quite a sunny October in Germany, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's quite sunny here today, actually. It was quite stormy last week, but we've got a bit of sun and apparently the frost is about to set in soon, so, you know, it's always one thing than the other, I suppose. But yeah, we've got...
That's Scotland for you.
Oh, tell me about it. I'll take the frost over the rain, to be fair. I don't mind a bit cold, but it's when it gets all wet and windy, like, oh, give me a break. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the weather. It is the international break, which means there's bugger all to discuss. Yes, there's some international games, but as self-respecting sports journalists, we like to turn off for the international break. International football is a thorn in our side, and we want to do all we can to ignore it. Am I right, Matt? Is that the right way to address this?
Yeah, something like that. I think I might not have put it as strongly, although I do agree. I have no interest in it whatsoever. So, yeah. I find like with international football, it sort of seems like a lot of people turn up in international breaks and international tournaments. Maybe I'm being harsh or too elitist about it, but maybe people who don't watch football at any other time of the year, and then they all turn up and you have to answer their questions. I just feel like, where were you for Augsburg versus Freiburg the other week? But yeah, they all turn up when Germany lose a game. Oh well, that's maybe just me being picky.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I just feel like I wouldn't have an issue with international football if it wasn't just routinely getting in the way of the domestic game. Like, I know they have to play the friendlies and the qualifiers at some point, but I'd actually at this point almost prefer if they just had like 6 weeks at some point in the season and just got them all out of the way, so we can just flip everything entirely to the international calendar. We can all either enjoy that or ignore it and then flip back to domestic stuff rather than this back and forth where every time teams start to build up some momentum, they have to break for a bloody trip to the United States, which has picked up some interest in the media this week as well, which is maybe a good place to start, Matt. So we did ask our subscribers in the forum on the Substack for some questions, and the first question is Mark saying, will Germany beat the USA and Mexico? Now, Mark, as I've just explained, Matt and I couldn't care less about international football, and that does feel like a question directed towards Manu. I'm sure if he was here, he'd be able to wax lyrically about how good the USA and Mexico are, but we are probably very poorly informed on that. So I'm going to skip right past that one. And
I do have 2 very minor things that I can maybe contribute on that note. That's that I did keep a half an eye on Christian Pulisic on last Wednesday in Dortmund when we were there with AC Milan. I thought he was poor, didn't do much, but then again, that's literally just one game that ended 0-0. So read into that what you will. And Gio Reyna came on in the second half against Union at the weekend, and first thing he did was to crunch into a tackle. I think against who's the US national team player with Union? I forget his name. He crunched to a tackle on him 50-50. But otherwise was fairly unremarkable. But yeah, that's about it for my US men's team insights.
Yeah, I did. I did have someone on Twitter ask me, like, why isn't Gio Reyna playing for Dortmund, which only ever comes up during the international break? And I just said, like, long story short, he's not good enough. I just left it at that. Anyway, Mark has a follow-up question, luckily to do with domestic football, and he says, serious question. So he's obviously agrees with us that wasn't a serious one. And the international football isn't serious. But he says, how much will Guirassy be worth at the end of the season if he keeps current form and is not injured? So he's obviously talking about Serhou Guirassy from Stuttgart. Now, we should prefix this by saying there's probably a release clause in there, I think, Matt, if I'm not mistaken. We discussed it a few weeks ago on the show. I think, if I'm not mistaken as well, Stuttgart may be trying to buy that out. But, you know, what do you... I mean, we've talked about Guirassy probably every time you've been on the show this season, but, you know, do you think there's any prospect of Stuttgart amending his contract and being able to cash in quite highly on him next season, or next summer, rather?
They wouldn't be the first Bundesliga team to do so. I think the best example that springs to mind would be Jadon Sancho in Borussia Dortmund a couple of years ago, when he managed to extend his contract with the proviso that it was unspoken that he could go the summer after. But obviously the contract extension enabled them to get an extra however many million euros it might have been out of Manchester United at the time. So I can absolutely see Stuttgart going down that sort of route. If he continues his current form, and the thing is, it's not even just the number of goals and type of goals he's scoring. There's a massive variation to his game, because I think we've discussed his hold-up play, his touch, the way he's dropping deep and linking up play, and actions that pivot on counter-attacks, that belting finish against, who was it, a couple of weeks ago? Was it the Wolfsburg game? Or the one where he's absolutely hammered it from the edge of the box? Who was it against?
Was that Cologne? No, it wasn't. No, we didn't play.
No.
Yeah, that's all, yeah.
Bochum. So yeah, all those variation in his game. I'm pretty unwilling to try to pull a random figure out of the air. But yeah, take a look at the ridiculous levels the market's reaching, and you obviously wouldn't be surprised to see Stuttgart holding out for 50, 60, 70, maybe even more. It's something the Bundesliga clubs are doing really well at the moment. They've all very much clocked on to, we call it a Premier League tax, if you like. I mentioned Dortmund, Frankfurt did the same over Kolo Muani. They know exactly what the financial situation is when a Premier League team comes knocking. You know exactly what the difference in TV deal is, and the difference in sponsorships, the fact that Premier League revenues, the sponsorship and everything else are in a completely different stratosphere. So yeah, you can thoroughly expect Alexander Werle and Fabian Wohlgemuth, those in charge at Stuttgart, to act as most Bundesliga clubs do in these situations these days and get the most out of it. Although obviously it'd be good to see him, for the sake of the league, to stay another year. I also think also for his sake to stay another year.
Thank you for listening to Believe. You can show support to your host by subscribing to the show and giving us a 5-star rating on your preferred platform. Check us out at Believe.com and search for BLEAV on YouTube.